Hey guys, what's going on? Today I'm diving into my review of the Ecovacs Deebot X9 Pro Omni. This is one of the most advanced all-in-one cleaning systems you can get right now. I've been putting it to the test for the past few weeks, and in this video I'm going to show you exactly how it performs, the things it does really well, and the areas where it still has room to improve. Now, let's start with the basics. The Deebot X9 Pro is loaded with high-end features. It comes with a 16,600 pascals of suction power, which is insanely powerful for a robot vacuum. It also uses the OZMO roller mopping system. Instead of just dragging around a damp pad, this one actually scrubs with a powered roller. As it's cleaning, the roller constantly rinses itself with fresh water and pulls up the dirty water, so you're not just smearing grime across the floor. And whenever the robot needs to refill the clean water, empty the dirty tank, or if it senses the floor is too dirty, it automatically returns to the station to rinse the mop roller with hot water. Once it's clean, the robot heads right back out and continues the job exactly where it left off. And when it's done, the station gives the roller a final wash and then dries it with hot air, which helps prevent any bad odors or mold from building up. That way the mop is always fresh and ready for the next cleaning session. Now, let me quickly show you how easy it is to set this thing up. Inside the box, you'll find a quick start guide, which is really simple to follow, along with the power cable that connects to the docking station. You also get the warranty card and a small user manual. But if you want the full version with every detail, you can access it right inside the Ecovacs app. Of course, you get the vacuum itself and the big Omni docking station, plus a connector piece that attaches to the base to complete the setup. So first, I'm going to start by removing all the protective plastic wrap that comes on the docking station. Once that's out of the way, I'll connect this plastic tray piece to the base. You just line it up, push it in, and it clicks right into place. This tray is what helps guide the robot so it can dock smoothly and align correctly every single time. Next, we'll set up the docking station. On the back, you'll see the port where you plug in the included power cable, and there's also a small power switch, so make sure that's flipped to the on position. Now, when choosing a spot for the station, it's important to place it against a wall on a flat, hard surface. Ecovacs recommends leaving a little bit of clearance on each side so the robot has enough space to line itself up and dock without issues. I set mine up right here, and to keep things neat, I tucked the extra cable behind the docking station so it stays out of sight. Now, the docking station has a couple of things you'll want to set up to make sure it works properly. The first thing I'm going to do is pop open this front cover, which gives you access to two important compartments. On the right side, you'll see the Ecovacs dust filter. This is where all the dust and fine particles get collected. Ecovacs recommends replacing this filter about every 3 to 6 months, depending on how often you use the robot and how dusty your home gets. The app will also give you reminders when it's time for a change. On the left side, there's a small compartment for the cleaning solution. When I bought mine, Ecovacs actually included 2 sample bottles, which I thought was a nice touch. I'm not sure if those come with every unit, but they did with mine. I went ahead and poured them into the compartment to fill it up. Later on, if you want to use your own cleaning solution, that's totally fine. Just make sure it's compatible and doesn't create foam or bubbles, since that could cause problems inside the system. The second thing you need to know is up on the top of the docking station. There are 2 separate compartments. The one on the left is for dirty water, and the one on the right is for clean water. Before each cleaning session, you'll want to fill the clean water tank with fresh water, and as the robot works, it will automatically flush the mop roller with that water and collect the dirty water in the other tank. When either tank needs attention, the station will let you know through the app, and you'll also see a red indicator light on the dock itself. I usually just top off the clean tank and empty the dirty one whenever I see the alert, and that way it's always ready to go. Now let's move on to the robot itself. It is pretty heavy and it feels really solid and premium in the hand. After peeling off all the protective plastic, I popped open the top cover, and right away you'll see the main power switch, which is the little red switch. Flip that on and the robot is ready to be set up. The next step is installing the Ecovacs app. In the quick start guide, there's a QR code that you can scan, and it will automatically direct you to the correct version of the app for your phone, whether you're on iOS or Android. Once you install it, you just log in or create an account if you don't already have one. From there, you'll need to scan the QR code that's printed on top of the vacuum, and the app will walk you through the connection process. On the side of that red switch, there's a tiny reset button with a little white LED. You just press and hold it for about 1 second, and that puts the robot into pairing mode. Once it shows up on your screen, you enter your Wi-Fi and password, and the app takes care of the rest. After a short connection process, the robot is officially online. Now, before you can start cleaning, the app will ask a few setup questions, like your time zone and if you'd like to schedule regular cleaning times. After that, the first big step is mapping your house. And honestly, I was really impressed with how fast it did this. It took less than 3 minutes to map my entire place. My tip here is to open all your doors and pick up anything that might block the robot, because the more open space it has, the more accurate your map will be right from the start. Once the robot finishes mapping your house, that's when the fun really starts, because the app gives you tons of features to play with. By default, it will automatically divide your home into separate rooms, but you can also create your own custom divisions or merge areas together if you want. You can even set up specific spots on the map, like marking exactly where your sofa is, so the robot knows how to move around it more intelligently. Another cool feature is that you can actually switch the map into 3D mode, which looks pretty impressive. At first, the view doesn't show too much, but the more you use the robot, the more details it adds. Over time, it will start recognizing things like carpets, and those will appear on the map. Now, when it comes to the settings in the app, there's a lot you can customize. First off, you can choose your cleaning mode. There are 3 options: vacuum only, vacuum and mop at the same time, or vacuum first and then mop. You can also set the suction power for the vacuum, as well as how much water you want the mop to use. Just keep in mind, the more water you use, the quicker you'll need to refill the tank. On top of that, you can adjust the cleaning speed and even tell it to do multiple passes over the same area if you want a deeper clean. And honestly, those are just the basics. The app goes way beyond that. I'm not going to go over every single option in this video because it would take too long, but there are a ton of features you can explore if you want to fine-tune how the robot works. Another thing I really like about the app is the maintenance reminders. It will notify you when it's time to replace certain parts, like the filter, the roller mop, or other consumables. And the best part is you can order replacements directly through the app, so you don't have to hunt them down yourself. Some of these parts won't need to be changed often, usually only after months of use, unless they get damaged. But it's nice to have everything tracked in one place. Now let's get into the part you've been waiting for, the testing. I wanted to see how this robot really performs, so for the first test I set it to clean my entire house. And honestly, it did a really good job. One thing I noticed though is that during the first pass it was leaving a bit of foam behind. At first I thought something was wrong, but after running it again in my next test, the foam issue was completely gone. My theory is that it wasn't actually the robot. It was just leftover detergent from when I cleaned my floors manually before. So it probably picked up a little bit of that residue and caused the foam. But as you'll see later in the video, once it got that out of the way, it never happened again. One thing I noticed is that on a full charge, it can run for about 2 hours, depending on the suction power you're using. Since this robot is really powerful, if you keep it on max suction, you'll get a little less runtime. In my case, it did have to return to the dock a couple of times to recharge before finishing. But that's not really an issue because it automatically resumes cleaning once it's topped up. Keep in mind, I was testing it in deep cleaning mode, so it was making extra passes compared to a regular run. The only thing I wish is that the recharging process was quicker, because a full charge does take a couple of hours. For bigger homes, that can feel a bit long if it needs to top off more than once. Now, looking at the bottom of the robot, you'll see it actually uses 2 different rollers. The one in the middle is the main vacuum brush, and it's designed with an anti-tangle system so hair doesn't easily get wrapped around it. You can pop it out for a quick clean or replace it whenever you need to. Then there's the mop roller, which handles all the liquid cleaning. A cool feature of this mop roller is that it can slide slightly to the side while it's scrubbing, which helps it reach into corners and along edges more effectively. I did notice a couple of times where it didn't quite get as close as I thought it could, so there's still a little room for improvement. But overall, the mopping performance was really solid. And just like the vacuum brush, this roller is also replaceable. Now, how often you'll need to refill the water compartment really depends on the size of your home and how long the robot is running. In my case, I usually have to empty and refill it after every full cleaning session. Just so you have an idea, this is what the dirty water looks like once it's done, and it's pretty nasty, which shows you how much grime it's pulling off the floor. After that, I just pour out the dirty water and top it back up with fresh clean water so it's ready for the next run. One of the best things about this robot is the navigation system. On the front, it has a Deebot LiDAR sensor. Basically, it shoots out lasers to scan the room and build a super accurate map of your home. But it also has an RGBD camera with structured light, which lets it actually see objects in real time. That means if you leave something like a shoe, a cable, or even a flip-flop lying around, it recognizes it and goes around it instead of just running it over. Along the side, it's got a 3D edge sensor that helps it clean really close to walls and corners without slamming into them. In my testing, it only touched the wall lightly a couple of times, but most of the time it slowed down, got close enough to clean, and then steered away. And just in case, it also has a front bumper that gently retracts when it makes contact with something. So even if it does touch an object, it's soft and controlled, not a hard hit. All of these sensors work together with Ecovacs AI navigation. So if something changes, like your pet runs across the floor or you move a chair, the robot can slow down, reroute, or adjust its cleaning path on the fly. In day-to-day use, this means it avoids getting tangled in cords, doesn't constantly bump into furniture, and does a much better job of cleaning edges and tight spots compared to older models. Another cool feature is that you can actually use the camera to see your home in real time through the app. It's kind of like having a little mobile security camera on wheels, which is a pretty neat bonus on top of just cleaning. Next, I wanted to see how it performs on carpet. So I set up a little test and put down a few different spills to simulate everyday messes. Then I let the robot loose to see how well it could handle them. And honestly, it did a really good job. This is where it really stands apart from a lot of other robot vacuums I've tried. The X9 Pro automatically recognizes when it's on carpet, so you don't have to set anything manually. When it detects carpet, it boosts suction and also stops using water so you don't end up with a wet rug. Now, the only thing I noticed is that it left a little bit of ground coffee in this area. But, to be fair, that dust is so fine that it's almost impossible to get out without scrubbing with water. Overall though, the carpet performance was impressive, and it handled every type of debris I threw at it. One thing I noticed is that the AI features that detect spills aren't turned on by default. To activate them, you need to go into the app settings, scroll down to lab features, and then switch on AI strategic cleaning. Once that's enabled, the robot can recognize stains and deal with them in a much smarter way. I really recommend turning this feature on. When I first tested the vacuum, I purposely left a spill of milk and coffee on the floor to see how it would react. I set it to run in vacuum mode only, just to find out if it would override the vacuum and switch to mopping, or at least avoid the spill. But since the AI wasn't activated, it didn't work the way I expected. It just vacuumed straight over the coffee and made a mess. So I repeated the exact same test, but this time I had the AI feature activated and set the robot to run only in vacuum mode. And here's where I noticed the difference. Instead of running straight over the spill, it actually avoided the mess and just cleaned the areas around it. That's exactly what I was hoping to see the first time. Then I tried again, but this time I set it to vacuum and mop at the same time. As soon as it detected the spill, the robot automatically shut off the vacuum and switched over to the mop roller. It locked in on the mess and actually cleaned it up really well. It did have to pause halfway through to rinse the roller, since it got dirty quickly with the coffee and milk. But once that was done, the robot picked up right where it left off and finished the job without any issues. Honestly, it did a really solid job this time. Now, I wanted to push things even further and see how the robot would handle a mix of wet and dry messes all at once. For this test, I set up a really tough challenge. I put down a little bit of honey, which is one of the hardest things to clean because it's so sticky. Then I added some ketchup, a few coffee beans just to make things even tougher, some small grains to simulate dry debris, and finally a bit of coffee to see how it handles liquid. With all of that on the floor, I started the robot to see how it would perform. So right after I started the test, the robot immediately recognized the ketchup spill. As soon as it detected liquid, it cut off the suction and even stopped the side brush. Instead, it switched into mopping mode, and what it does in these situations is pretty clever. It creates a square around the spill and then scrubs in a cross pattern, going back and forth one way and then the other. After the first pass, it was still a bit messy, but the robot automatically returned to the dock to clean up the mop roller. Then, it came back and repeated the same square pattern over the spill. Once again, after a few passes, it went back to the station to clean the roller for the second time, and then returned to keep working on the exact same spot. After that, it moved on to the honey. And here, as expected, it had a bit more trouble because honey is thick and sticky. Just like before, the robot created a square around the spill. But one thing I noticed is that in this mode, it only focuses on mopping. Even though I had scattered some grains nearby, the robot shut off the vacuum and relied just on the mop roller. That meant the grains weren't picked up, they were just being pushed around a little. But it was clearly prioritizing the sticky mess. At this point, it had to go back to the dock for a third rinse of the mop roller. When it returned, it repeated the same square scrubbing pattern over the honey. Then, it went back for a fourth rinse, and that's when it finally switched back into vacuum mode. Once it did that, it was able to pick up all the grains and ground coffee around the sticky spot and finish the job properly. And here, I can honestly say it did a really good job. When I first started the test, I didn't think it was going to handle it this well. But by the end, I was impressed. Honestly, I don't think I could have done a better job myself. The only thing it missed was a single grain of coffee that was right up against the wall. And that's completely understandable. Other than that, the floor was left really clean. So, after using this robot vacuum cleaner for a few weeks, I can definitely say I recommend it. It's been performing really well. Before having the X9 Pro, I used to clean my house manually once a week, and honestly, it was always a big job. I have 2 dogs, and my German Shepherd sheds a ton of hair. On top of that, he tracks dirt inside, which makes the floors messy really fast. But since I've been using this cleaner, it's been a game changer. I can run it whenever I want without stressing about the mess, and it keeps the house looking so much cleaner on a daily basis. It's just made everything so much easier, and that's why I definitely recommend it. I'll leave a link down below in case you want to check out this robot vacuum for yourself. And if you decide to buy through that link, I may earn a small commission, which really helps support the channel. And the best part is it doesn't cost you anything extra. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments and I'll be more than happy to help. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more reviews and content like this.